In this video, I am going to provide you with a couple of more repair suggestions for dealing with stairs with housed or dadoed stringers. And this seems to be a common stairway that runs into a basement. And it's a common stairway built in older homes. And it would be built something like this with a 1x12 stringer and maybe 1x12s for the treads and 1x8s for the risers. And it would be something that you would do with a router, and then after you routed everything out and were assembling the stairway, you would use these wedges to tighten everything up. And these wedges could have glue in them or some type of an adhesive, so let's not forget about that either. And the reason why I'm showing you this is just to provide you with an idea of how your stairway might be assembled. And the house stringers are usually going to be nailed at the bottom and usually have finish nails at the top. So maybe a couple of 8D nails at the bottom, and maybe even using some nails that would be going from the back of the riser into the back of the tread. And I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on how the wedges work, just kind of wanted to give you an idea of how the stairs might have been assembled so that I could provide you with a few ideas or construction methods on how to make the repairs. So again, the treads and risers are fitted into slots in the stringers. And since it's going to be difficult to remove and replace them, we're going to just simply remove a few of them. And to do that, you can use a reciprocating saw, maybe a jigsaw, or even a circular saw and a hand saw. And it might require multiple cuts. You might be able to cut it right down the middle and then take it out. Or you might need to cut a section of it out and then cut another section of it out here and then try and work these pieces out. Just try to do it without damaging the stringer because you are going to be reusing the stringer. However, you will not be reusing the risers and the treads. And this is usually the problem that you're going to be using this method on to make this repair, and that would be a gap between the stringer and the treads, and of course the risers, which would create a structural problem. And for those of you wondering how all of this stuff could still stay together when it's not in the slot, well, that could be because they have nails. Someone might have nailed it from the other side of the stringer, which means that you will have nails going into the sides of the treads and the risers from the other side of the stringer here. And those nails might need to be cut or removed somehow so that you can make this repair also. So the first thing you're going to need to do will be to figure out exactly how many of the treads and risers you need to cut out. And if there is a gap going all the way up the stairway, then you might consider replacing the entire stairway. If not, let's go ahead and get those treads and risers out of there, and this will also provide you with access to underneath the stairway. And you can also get access to underneath the stairway by cutting an access hole in between the wall framing studs. And this method right here could be extremely valuable if you do not want to mess up the stairway and you don't have a problem crawling around underneath the stairway and then fixing everything from inside here, which means that even if you had a lot of them loose or separated from the dado slot, you wouldn't need to remove all of the treads and risers as long as you could get under here and add some type of structural support. And of course, this means you might be able to just remove 2 or 3 of them. For example, maybe 3 risers would be enough for you to slide underneath the stairs, set up a light, grab some tools, get an extension cord in here, and then start repairing the rest of the stairway. And the next step would be to remove any of the wedges so that you could install some type of a block. And I'll leave it up to you if the block needs to sit on top of a pressure treated board. And don't forget that these blocks can be wider also. You could use a 2x6 to a 2x12, 2x8, maybe even some 2x4s to make these structural supports work. Now what we're looking at here is a board that is going to be level and not matching the slope of the dadoed stringer. So make sure that these are level and lining up with the top line here, or should I say lining the top of this block up. with the top of the slot notched into the stringer. And another thing I should point out is that you could always use wider lumber. For example, if I wanted to use a 2x12, I would just make this board a little smaller so that the top of the 2x12 lines up with the top of this line here. So again, we're not going to line the top of it up with the bottom. We're going to make sure it's parallel to the line on the top. And like I said, you can use thicker pieces of lumber or even other types of lumber, whatever you think is going to work, including using a notched stringer, something like this. And I understand that this might be a little more difficult for do-it-yourselfers. However, it is another option. And of course, we can see where the top of this line is lining up parallel with the line in the stringer, and the same with our risers. And we can structurally attach the stringer to the wall framing studs with some nails or screws. And you can always add some type of post or support studs underneath here to make it a little stronger. Let's go ahead and take a look at the other side. And here we've changed the direction of the support boards. And in this case, we're using some 1x10. However, if all you had was 1x4, then you could put a 1x4 here, and then one next to it, and then another one next to it. And that's kind of what I meant by using 1x4 or 2x4s. And of course, you do not need to be obsessed with doing everything the way that I have laid it out here, and can get as creative as you want to create your own structural support framing system. And after you have created the supports and you're happy with them, you can feel free to install the risers and the treads, and you can start from the bottom or the top, whatever you think is going to work best for you. So not too difficult. Riser, we're going to install the riser, and the riser is not going to fit into the dado slot, or should I say it doesn't need to fit into the dado slot, and of course might be too difficult to install if it is going to fit into the slot. And of course that will be another thing that I will leave up to you to figure out what works best. And now we can simply work our way up the stairway, installing the rest of the risers and treads one at a time, cutting them one at a time, cutting them to fit, and then using screws or nails to fasten everything together. And also keep in mind that this side might not be square, but this one will. And depending upon how important that is to you, will also determine the accuracy of cutting each one of these treads to fit. And like I mentioned before, if an access hole is going to be easier from one side of a wall that has drywall or plaster on it, then that might provide you with a better option than removing a section of the stairway so that you can get access underneath, when in reality all you need is access from somewhere to make the repairs so that you do not mess up the treads, especially if the stairway is carpeted. So with that said, let's go ahead and wrap this video up. If you liked it, you learned something from it, make sure that you let us know by hitting the thumbs up button or leaving a comment in the comment area. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comment area also.